call is now being
like the plastic pieces just started breaking off, and I came inside. I was like, hey, I got either good news or bad news. She was like, all right, then give me the bad news. I was like, well, we don't have a vacuum cleaner anymore. She was like, what's the good news? I was like, well, you're gonna get your dream. You're gonna get a new vacuum cleaner. She's like, I didn't want a new vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, that was I was gonna tell you right now. That was man.
That was a bad move.
That was a bad move right there. You know what I mean?
You don't mess with a woman's appliances.
Yeah, and then or assume that their dream is a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm here to
She's
answer
like,
your.
my dream is a maid. Forget the vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
Give me a maid.
Yeah. My dream is you with a six-pack. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what this
My
vacuum
dream is
cleaner
to have
talk
the
is.
pool boy in here sweeping and mopping.
As a matter of fact, right
Yeah.
now that you mentioned a maid, we were talking earlier on. I was like, hey man, it's a dream. Hopefully, something cracks with this, and then I'm able to be heading back into the state of California. And she was like, well, if that's your dream, then hopefully that your dream includes a nanny, so somebody could pick up the baby and drop her off to school. And I was like, hey, I didn't think about all that. We're getting way ahead of ourselves here. So
Yeah. Yeah, since we're dreaming.
Yeah. Right now we're still in the dream phase. Hold on, let me work out the logistics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dreams do whatever they want. Reality's a different thing.
Hey, what's crazy is, like, I was sitting here thinking about, that we hang out, and we shoot the shit, and we have a good conversation. It's like, in a way, that you guys are the listeners, you James, you guys are our cellies for the next 2+ hours. you guys are our third celly. We always say that in here, like, hey, well, you could, we joke with some of the fellas on the yard and be like, hey man, you could come in and move in with us. Now we'll slide a bed right here on the floor, and you guys could be our third celly, but that, in a way, that's what you guys are. You guys are locked in here with me and Jess, and no, it's good, man. I actually miss calling in.
We'll make sure he doesn't touch our vacuum, because we want to make sure the vacuum still works when he leaves.
Well, yeah, for us, yeah, James, we don't want you messing up our floor towel.
Yeah, we don't want you messing with the floor towel or the mop bucket.
Yeah, only I make messes in this cell. I just want you to know that.
Hey, so funny story on that vacuum. We've had it, I would say maybe like 8-9 years, since we've been living at this pad, and originally when we got it, it was white. It was really like a white plastic. But now over the years, it's been discoloring. It's getting like that, brown. That, yeah, kind of like that brown yellow, yeah. So when it starts getting to that, to that color, when it starts changing like that, the plastic becomes very brittle. So I just lift it up because I was gonna pick it up and put it up on the wall, and that thing just broke from all kinds of places, and I was like, oh man, I don't think tape's gonna solve this situation. I got myself in right now. It's not gonna do it. It's not gonna cut it. Not today.
He's already digging a ditch in the backyard to throw the vacuum in.
Man, it's crazy, because if that happened in here, man, we'll have that vacuum cleaner working for another 20 years. We'll send it to Javi.
Yeah. That vacuum falls apart in here. We're sending it to Javi. He'll fix it. Get it together. Be discolored parts, but we got to make things last in here. Yeah. So the crazy part though, James, is I just got back. Well, I got back from my family visit today. I walked in exhausted, man, like around 10:30. I got back to the cell, and man, I was sitting here. Coming back from family visits is a little stressful. It's kind of like a stressful experience, and it's kind of obvious where you're going and when you're coming back. So that's like a whole other factor also. When they called me out, Jesse wasn't here. Jesse was doing his clerk job behind the work change, and they announced it, Jess. They called on the thing. Usually they just pop the door and be like, hey, report to the gate, And they said it loud. They Lopez, report family visit, report to the gate. And I'm like, damn, everybody's looking at me. Right off the bat, I got all self-conscious,
I have my laundry bag and I cruise through the yard, you know, and there's just people that are kind of looking at you, you know, just with a little bit of, there's some people that look at you with envy, other people that just look with disdain, other people.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Like Jesse was more anxious than I was that morning. I was getting my stuff together. Jesse's like, man, I'm feeling real excited right now, real anxious, and I don't know why. you know, it's like you packed me a lunch. All right, go on and get that now.
Go on and get it. Yeah. Don't forget your chin strap, your cup, your sweat rag.
Yeah. So I was out there, man. It's crazy because you leave this place. It's almost like a little piece of freedom out there. You know, it's the family visiting unit. At least here in Calipatria, it's almost like it's a 2-bedroom apartment. It's got a kitchen. It's got like a restroom, a cool shower. It's got like an air fryer. Today's the first time I even seen an air fryer before. It's got like real pots and pans, and there's like a little front yard out there. And my son came also. It was cool, man. We had to like set up a little basketball court, and yeah, it's pretty crazy. You never heard about the family visiting units, James?
No, I mean, well, I've seen them like on MSNBC Lockup Raw, but I've never actually spoken to anybody that was able to, you know, shed like details and the, you know, the ins and outs as far as how family visits work. So this definitely be a first for me.
Okay, yeah. So generally in when everything is working accordingly, like with the family visiting units, and there's no issues with the coordinators, it's generally get them every 90 days. It's a really strict vetting process. They don't just let anybody out there. As it's classified right now, I have a life sentence. I have two L's, 2 life sentences attached with my prison term. So we weren't even allowed to get these. When did they cut the family visits, Jess?
Like in 94 or something like that.
Yeah, because when I came to prison in 2000, the family visits were done.
It was either 94 or 96 they had taken them.
Yeah, they were done. Yeah, and so when I got my time, there was the whole time I was in prison, they were always talking about, well, the lifers are going to get family visits back and stuff like that, you know. But I'm going to tell you, man, when the lifers weren't getting family visits in prison was freaking pretty pandemonium, man. There's a lot of dudes that just didn't really care. There's nothing to really look forward to. Then they weren't giving lifers board dates, or they weren't finding them suitable. The governor was shooting them down, and it was just a giant mess, you know. So one of the big things that they gave back to us was the family visits for lifers. So when I started my life sentence, I was actually able to participate in that. So you have to submit. You got to submit to your counselor, and when you do that, you get approved. They vet you. They look. They make sure, because if you have like a sex offense, you're not eligible. If you have domestic violence, you're not eligible. You have murder on a minor, you're not eligible. And it's crazy because there's a lot of guys in here that they've been in here since they were kids, and you know, they were 16, 17-year-old gang members, and you know, they were shooting at other 16, 17-year-old gang members, but since it was a crime on a minor, they're not eligible. So these guys, they're not weirdos or nothing. That's just what it was. They were gangbanging. They were underage, but they're starting to change the process, though. They're vetting them out where you got to be.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
You got to be disciplinary free for 5 to 10 years, depending on your the age of your crime, and then when you get to a new prison, like I was getting family visits in Calipatria, but when I got here, the process had to start over again. So I had to submit to the counselor. I had to go through the vetting process, and it takes a long time. So I've been here since July, and I barely got my first one this weekend. So when you get there, they pull you out, take you over there. They drive you around to these. There's 10 units. There's 10 units, but right now there's only 5 of them that work. The rest of them, they're trying to remodel them, and so they can open it up for more people. But they take you over there. You bring your clothes. Like it's crazy because it's like I'm in prison, but I'm not in prison at the same time. There's like a yard. It's a pretty big little yard area. It's got a little walkway. It has some like this one right here was freaking dirty, man. This one was crazy. The concrete was all jacked up. The There were stickers, those little thorns, those little thorns, Jess. Those things were everywhere, man. Just like they said they were, man. Yeah, I heard about those little thorns and.
Yeah, they took my last Sally's daughter down a couple times.
Yeah, those things were, man, they get everywhere. So there's thorns all over, and we were just constantly sweeping them. They were on my shoes. They were getting into a little bungalow. They call them bungalows. So you walk up the little walkway, and you open the door, and boom, you see it. You got a table in there. You got a microwave. You got an oven. You got an air fryer. But I'm honestly, I'm worn the hell out, James. They don't. Okay, so the counts are what makes us so tired, man. Set aside all the other stuff, the physical stuff and whatnot. It's these counts, man, that drain us. Like I haven't really got a full night's sleep in 2 days. I went out there on Friday around 11 o'clock. I made it out there, and
so let me interject real quick. So let that speak to his commitment to the podcast and the listeners and stuff like that, because I've had Sellies before that went to family visit, and they come back the day of the family visit. You don't see them till the following day. They'll be man down till the following day, making up for 2 days of missed sleep.
Yeah.
So let that speak to his commitment to our objective and what we're doing here and being here and spending this Sunday, with the listeners. So
the reason why I talk about this topic right here, the family visiting, because I know you always hear about it, like conjugal visiting in prison and whatnot, but like you said, James, you've never talked to somebody who's actually gone to it, like literally I've only been back for a matter of hours, and I am tired, but I am committed to this podcast and I am committed to our listeners.
And I think.
Go ahead, Jess.
I think real quick with the family visits too, for anybody that's listening that that don't, and they are called family visits now. Back in the day, they were called boneyard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the boneyard.
Because that's the idea that was being generated around these visits. That they're out there. We just go out there to have sex. That's what it's for. It's to go out there and bone or whatever you want to call it, right? But the reality of it is, they're family visits, and that's what they are now. Those visits are for the family members, and I can't personally speak on family visits because I've never been there to a family visit. I took them for granted, you know what I mean, and I've robbed my family of those visits up until 2026, you know what I mean, because of my activities in here of distributing narcotics.
Yep.
So I was those privileges were taken from me for 3 years, and but they're family visits for that reason. That's what they're called, because that's what people go out there to strengthen their bonds with their family members, to develop relationships, genuine relationships, so it's not just sitting in a visiting room or phone calls. And it's a whole, I can only imagine now that I know that I'm going to get them back one day and I can value those visits. I've sat here and fantasized, what would this be like to actually go out there and spend a few days with my kids, or spend a few days with my family, like just doing things that I took for granted, small things like cooking or watching my family cook, or playing on the floor with the kids, or just watching TV with my family. So they're family visits for a reason, because it builds families, and there's even some families that have righteously been created out there. I know people that have had kids from those family visits. My last cellie has a little baby, that was born, that was consummated out there in the, or what's it called?
Consummate? No, you're talking about
what's the word?
I'm tired right now.
James,
what do you conceive?
Conceived. There you go. Conceived out there in the family visit. So, but those family visits, they're powerful for anybody that does get them. Of course, some people.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Hey guys.
I'm not mad at them.
Yes, sir.
So we got somebody calling in. I'm not sure. Hello, caller? Can you hear us?
Oh my gosh! I didn't realize that this was live right now.
Yeah, it's actually
this
live.
This is Amy.
Oh, hey, Amy, how's it going?
The phone's gonna cut off right now, Amy.
Yeah.
Should we?
The phone's gonna hang up.
Can we call back? Can she hang out for a second, James? Will we call back real quick?
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll hang up, but really, I was actually hoping, James, you could call me back about it. Okay, I'll hang up, let you go. I didn't mean to do this.
No. You could call in. They're gonna hang up.
All right, it's a private thing. I was trying to reach you over the side.
Oh.
Yeah, it's sensitive. So okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna listen though. Okay.
Okay, no worries.
Love and prayers. Okay. Bye.
All right, thank you. All right.
Yep, thank you.
All right, we'll call him back.
All right, perfect. So I want to go ahead and give a shout out to everybody that comes in and tunes in. So we're gonna go ahead and go with the collect call from roll call. First up is gonna be El Iceman. Then second person or second person I'm gonna shout out here is gonna be Gyro Lamb, LA Analyst, Fish Slayer, SoCal, Lifestyles Chronicles, Richard from Colorado, Mad Max 408, and M Star Media, Marlene, LBCK 15, Righteous Monkey, Biddy K, drew.p.huevos, Amy, Manny C.
This call is now being recorded.
This is Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
David Lopez.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello, guys.
All right, James.
All right, so right now, right before you guys called, I was doing a roll call of all our listeners. So I had just left off on Drew P. Huevos, Amy, Manny C, LA Analyst, Aqua Amigo, Angel the 805, Jerry Eastwood, Tony Yayo, 2 Valid 123, 1967 Kid PR Flag, Diggler _ Bolden, Bruce Swillus, LastChanceHomie, August M, Frank, Patrick Patterson, or also known as Ramon, Lex Luth, Randy R, Wendy, Leticia, Felipe Navarro from El Paso, lots of Botox, Daniel, and Gyro Lamb. So I just want to go ahead and give a shout out to all our supporters.
Hey, big shout out. I heard some regulars on there too, man. Big shout outs, man.
What I'm panicking about is where's that Iceman?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I was like, where's that Iceman? That's the boy right there. I'm looking.
So
I'm going through I'm double checking the list right here. Where's your guest list, Jay?
Yeah. You make sure the Iceman is on the guest list.
Sure he's VIP. I gave him a pass.
Yeah, for sure.
So
he's always invited.
So I started off the roll call before you guys called. You know how there was that moment that the call was disconnected. I was taking that moment to read off the list, and you guys called in the middle of the list. So El Iceman was definitely up there, numero uno on the list.
Okay.
Up there with
Yeah,
Fish
okay,
Slayer also.
Already starting to what's up with Iceman? Somebody send a call to Iceman, make things all right.
I don't know what's going on with this James guy, Jess, but
James is slipping right now. He didn't hit up Iceman.
Even if he's not there, say his name.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, hey, like David said, though, I appreciate everybody's support and all the listeners and everybody that's there. Good looking out for spending this Sunday with us.
Yeah, we do this. We do this for you guys, man, and this is you guys are our third celly.
Yeah, that's a lot of cellies. I don't know.
We got a lot of cellies. Yeah,
sleep, but hey, good looking out for showing up.
Yep. yeah. So get back to this little.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
So I haven't been out there because of the transfer. I haven't been out there for about 8 months. So it's crazy because it's almost like learning how to walk again, man. Like I'm kind of like I don't really know where like what to do. Like my wife, she already has everything kind of like she lives a normal life. So she's used to cupboards. She's used to cupboards. She's used to drawers. She's used to like the stove and the way the oven is. And me, I'm kind of like afraid of this stuff. Like I'm afraid of getting burned. I'm not used to, yeah, I'm like, man, I'm kind of
can barely navigate the hot pot. Keep them away from the stove, please.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, I'm looking at the stove when the grease starts to cook in the pan. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of like behind my wife, like, sorry, babe, you're gonna have to take this one. The first line of defense when this shit comes for me, and and I'm just walking around looking at stuff, I'm in the restroom and I'm kind of like looking at the mirror, like, damn, this is what I look like because it's like a full mirror. The shower, how you can control the temperature and it's like a real temperature. It's not like these jail shower temperatures where you're basically, yeah, it's like, it's cold and lukewarm. That's the two temperatures you got, ice cold and lukewarm. And then it'll go super scalding hot. Like right when you don't expect it, though. You'll be in the shower and everything will be cool, lukewarm, and then boom, something will change in the pipes or whatever, and bam, you're burned.
Somebody will flush a toilet and the fell over.
Yeah, you're burned. You know, but there's a bathtub right there, and I'm walking around, I'm looking in the rooms, I'm like, damn, there's 2 twin beds in there, and then there's like I think maybe a queen size mattress in the master bedroom, and there's a doorknob. You know, there's a doorknob.
What am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah, I'm looking at this thing like, what's this big circular thing that's sticking out of the door? I think the door's got a penis. You know, I don't know what this place is.
Yeah, I don't know what this sex dungeon is.
Yeah, but you know, yeah, and then I'm kind of like, I am conscientious. I'm like, okay, well, a lot of people don't come out here with their families, you know, so I'm like, damn, there's this cleaner. They give you cleaner, they give you gloves, you know. So there's this cleaner that they give in prison. It's Cell Block 64. And that stuff kills everything, man. It's supposed to kill, like, I don't know, like 1 million germs.
I'm not sure what happened. It seems like their phone cut out. It should be coming back shortly. It normally happens here and there, but it normally tends to reconnect quickly. And I just saw the message that Lifesman put in there. I'm here, bros. Okay, we lost you for a moment.
You got it? Okay.
You guys lost us for a minute?
Yeah. Hey, when did we cut off? When I was the doorknob with the doorknob being the freaking bungalow's penis? Yeah, so no, that's cool. That's good that Iceman's there. We could hear you when we cut off, James. We could hear you.
Yeah, we could hear you.
Oh.
Yeah.
We send ours to Iceman as well.
Hey, so Iceman puts he put CUEVOS, homies, I'm sick with 49 fever.
Hey.
Oh, come on. Here we go.
I saw what happened with the Rams, you know, the other day, you know, so I just wanted to say there's no hard feelings. I know there wasn't no starters in, but I'm going to count that one.
Yeah. A win's a win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm about to watch the Rams go down today probably, though, which is, you know, it's pretty sad.
Yeah, kind of just like the Cowboys are getting smashed.
Yeah, that's on right now. I can't. That's just a disaster. So, yeah, but anyway. Yeah, go ahead.
He put other, he says, I'm in here, bros. And then he said, updated on the Lamb game. Ooh, he put, I meant Rams game.
Oh, the Lamb.
Damn, yeah, he got me before he got me on one of the messages. Yeah, so.
Yeah, the shots fired.
Yeah, that was shots fired. Yeah, guerra.
I thought this was a peaceful podcast. What's going on here? We got lambs and all this.
What the hell? They just call count time. He's in A section. We're good.
Okay, they're doing count right
now. Yeah, well, they call count time right now, so the officer's walking around. So me and Jess are standing here at the door. But yeah. So anyway, this I got this Cell Block 64, right? Because I'm mindful of the people that have been in there before. It's not all families and stuff like that, you know.
Thank God they don't give you a black light to go with that stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to put a black light on in that place. So I'm walking around with this bottle of Cell Block 64, and I'm looking at this mattress. It's a big-ass mattress, but one thing that's standing out to me is the stains, you know. I'm like, damn, that stain right there, this is kind of crazy. So it's kind of like you're looking around, and everything's kind of messed up, and it's kind of like a nasty little unit, you know. So I'm trying to put the I'm spraying everything. And then I have to bring extra sheets because I don't want my family touching the mattresses. You know, I don't want them touching the couches. So I'm spraying everything down before they even get there, man. I'm telling you, that shit was so strong in there that my eyes were watering. That's how much of that cell block that I was using.
He's trying to prevent getting pregnant.
Yeah.
Dave's going to come back.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, man.
It's not even going to be his.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm walking around doing that. Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened, Jess. I sat on that couch and now I got stomach cramps.
Yeah. I sat on that couch. Now I'm 6 months pregnant. I know I've only been gone for 48 hours. Something happened.
Yeah. So I'm
immaculate conception.
And you know the crazy part is behind the.
Oh man, we cut out again. And I just read your. We have a question from LA Analyst, and she wants.
What about now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. We can hear you now.
All right, go ahead. I
LA,
heard you right when you said it.
LA Analyst, she says, hey, checking in. How long are the family visits?
Okay, so they're supposed to be 48 hours. I got there at 11 o'clock on Friday, and I got back today at like 10:30, but my wife was out of there by 9 o'clock.
Some prisons, if they're far enough away, they give you 72 hours, and most prisons give you the full 48 hours. But this place right here has a problem with their scheduling.
Yeah. So it's what it is. Yeah, whatever that adds up to. But it's crazy because it's over fast, man. Oh yeah, the counts. I got to tell you about the counts, man. The counts are the most insane part of this whole process. This is why we're so tired when we come back, man. We get counted here several times a day. Like right now, me and Jesse just got up and we got counted, right? This is the 4 o'clock count. This is statewide. So 4 o'clock, 4:30, depends on where you're at, you know. But right now, our count for this institution or this yard is 4:30. So I have to go out front for this count over there. I got to put on my blues because I'm in my shorts, my gray shorts, and you know I got my sweatshirt and I'm just chilling. You know I got my sandals on in the family visit unit. But at 4 o'clock count, I got to put on my blues and I got to walk out all the way out to the gate. And the cop comes by in like a little golf cart or a little van, and we got to read them off our name and they got to verify that it's us. You know, so that's understandable. So 4 o'clock, 4:30, we do the count over there. Then I do the same thing at 9 o'clock. They have a phone in there. And this phone, it freaks me out when it rings because I'm not used to having a phone ring like that. It's super loud. It's like an alarm, you know. So the phone rings, I got to answer it, and they're like, hey, step out for count. I'm like, all right. So I go out there. So 9 o'clock. The problem is that the next count is at 12:30 at night. So I'm already tired by 12:30 at night. You know, I'm not necessarily an old man, but I'm not young either. I'm in my 40s already, you know. So 12 o'clock
Speak
at 12.
for yourself, because I'm a young man.
Oh, man, it's crazy, James. If you see the face of denial, man, if you ever had like an image of what denial was, like you should see it right here. It's amazing to look at. You know, this guy's
the nerve.
Yeah, he's running his hands through his hair, and he half of it's falling out when he's going by. He's got gray in the weirdest places, like gray sideburns. No, he ain't gray like that. But yeah, so anyway, we go. Okay, so remember, think about it. You know, it's 9 o'clock at night. I want to go to bed like probably around at least like 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'm ready to lay down, but 12:30, that damn phone rings again. And now I want to get to that phone before my son hears it because he's already like laying out, you know. And then my wife is already asleep, so. And I have to put myself by the phone so I can pick it up on the first ring. So I'm standing there around, 12:25. I'm standing by the phone just waiting for it to call so I can go out to the gate. Then as soon as I go to the gate, guess what? The phone rings again at 2:30. So 2:30 in the morning, I'm freaking standing out. I'm standing by the phone again around, I wake up like around probably 2:15, and there's no way I'm going to go back to sleep. I'm lucky to get up at that time, And then so I'm standing there by the damn phone again so I don't wake up my loved ones. And then I have to go out to the gate again at 2:30. Then I got to freaking wake up and be out there by the gate and by the phone at 5 a.m. So it rings all night, and that's the mess apart because you can't really get to sleep like that, anticipating the phone call. There's no alarm clock in there. And that happened for 2 days in a row already. So I'm running off like minimal sleep. I'm running off coffee right now. I was sitting here nodding out in the top bunk.
I put the yard down earlier and he fell asleep.
Yeah, it's crazy because I went out to day room because I'm like, man, I'm gonna walk around so I don't stress out, because it's kind of a stressful thing to come back into this environment. It's easy because I'm here with Jesse and Jesse's like family to me, so it's not as bad as before, like I'm not in a complete foreign land. But when you leave, like it's almost like coming back to jail again. So I go out to day room and boom, the yard goes down. The cops run out. They tell us to sit down. So I find a good, comfortable spot to sit down, and bam, I'm right there sleeping. I'm right there leaned up on a bench, and I'm asleep. And I'm like, yeah, I need to come in and take a nap, It
was like weekend at Bernie's out there.
Yep. Yeah, it happens. And then it's over,
And it's crazy that he says that too about coming back and reacclimating back to prison. That's like one of the things that why it was kind of a one of the reasons. I mean, I was just a selfish, inconsiderate individual. Why I didn't, put into consideration other people, getting family visits. Me personally, I didn't really care to get them. It just wasn't something that I was thinking about or worried about. But I used to have a little homie from where I used to be from. He used to come back from family visits, and I remember I used to see
what he used to go out there and see his little baby, you know, and he only had like 14 years, and but he'd go out there with his girl and his wife and his daughter, his little kid, the little baby, and he would come back from family visit, and over there they were giving him like 72 hours, which was cool, but he would come back, and I remember how stressed out he would be for like the first like week, you know.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
And I could literally see it on his face, see it in everything, and so when he'd actually start functioning normal again, it seems like it'd be time to go. Over there, we're giving him pretty quick, like every 2 months, so he was going out a lot. But I'll never forget like how he'd be stressed out, and I used to think about that, like, man, what would that be like? Like me personally, at that point in my life.
All right, and you guys went dark again. We can't hear it's cutting off again. So I know the call's about to be cutting off in the next 20 seconds or so. So if you guys just want to go ahead and hang up and give me a call back, and we'll go ahead and start with our fresh.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
We can start with a fresh
All
call.
right.
Yeah. All right. Perfect.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Back right now. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys now. All right. So that's definitely a good question, Amy. You would be the first person that's ever asked a question like that. So I'm gonna see what I could find out, and I'll ask these gentlemen maybe if they know of any type of organizations or support group for women that or just a group in general. It doesn't have to necessarily be a woman, but for people that have incarcerated loved ones, and hopefully I'm able to find something out. Like I said, I'll go ahead and ask these gentlemen to check if they know of anything on the inside, and then I'm just reading the message that ICEMAN just put up on the screen here. I can't chew bubblegum and walk at the same time. I'm only one. I could only do one thing at a time, so that's why I'm pausing in between when I'm speaking. And then LA Analyst is asking, does one have to be married to receive family visits? That's a good question. I'll go ahead and ask them right now when they call back in. Hopefully they're not having any issues with their tablets. It's sounding really good. The tablets right now. I know, like in the last few days and whatnot, the calls have been sounding really choppy, but today it's sounding they're sounding really good. Just for that, going dark, every so often. Oh, Dirty, and Dirty is let me see, Dirty D. 80s a baby for real. It's absolutely more than no. What was that? Hold on, Amy. There's lots of Instagram groups of prison wives, as they call themselves. Hey, thank you. Really appreciate that. I'm gonna put that up on the screen. Yeah, I'm not hip on the Instagram and TikTok. I'm kind of out of the loop when it comes to Instagram and TikTok. I'm barely figuring out this YouTube thing and whatnot. And it's been a real learning curve for me. Learning how to operate all this this software, these phones, these microphones, and man, like my whole computer area is just like a freaking mess. I got headphones here, headphones there, and Saved by the Bell.
This call is now being
all you
Never
have
let
to
him
do.
Cry, soldier.
No, say the names of states. Say the names of states in Super Cholo. Start with Colorado and just work your way up. Califas, California, Nevada. You gotta. Hey, how do you say Nevada? Just work your way and we'll be there.
Preferably states with the R's in there, so I could emphasize the
anything with an R. Hey, I'm gonna give you a challenge before we go on, man. I want you to say Rhode Island and roll that R. I need to hear it.
I can't say it in Spanish. I can't say it. I have to say it in English. I can't. That one.
Rode.
Rhode Island.
Yeah. Island. Rode Island. Yep. All right.
All right. So we have two questions. The first one's from Amy.
Right.
Do you guys know of any support groups for either for prison wives or women that have loved ones that are incarcerated? That help support each other.
There is. Now, me personally, I don't, right? But I know they exist. And the problem is with the support groups that I've heard in the past is that it kind of becomes political in a sense.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope. I know Jesse. Jesse knows. Jesse would know more about that than I would. My wife has talked to me about that, and it depends.
Right. Well, they have several groups on the Facebook and all, and some of these social media apps. But the reality of them is, I mean, if I'm honest, there's a bunch of toxic ass people on there. So I don't know what exactly what she's looking for. Right. There is some good people on there. There are people on there that can actually, if she happens to be a prison wife, that can, help her with the struggles, that can relate and understand what she's going through because they're going through some of the same things. But also too, you get a bunch of these groupies, these mob groupies and these gang groupies and these chicks on there that they act as if they're actually, in here like a bunch of dudes, and so they just get on there with some of the weirdest drama, So I personally don't recommend it for everybody. But if you have thick skin, or you can just go on there and troll it until you find people that are, okay, this sounds like a cool female, or this sounds like a cool female, and you can basically make introductions there and engage with those you choose to. But as a whole, the platform as a whole tends to be kind of weird. A lot of these chicks are pretty dysfunctional, and they're on there basically like trying to bring their dudes' problems to the pages, which is kind of weird. But
yeah, they
have a thing called Inmate Family Council. They have prison wives of whatever prison your husband is in or your loved one is in. They have they have different pages. If you go on there, you'll be able to find them. But like I said,
the biggest support that I get from my loved ones is information. That's the biggest thing that you can give your loved one if that's what you're after. That's support.
I think she's looking for support for herself.
And that's what I was thinking. Support for yourself. The best thing that I would do is actually separate yourself from the prison wife term in general. There's other support groups that'll help you because you're going through something if you have a loved one that's incarcerated. It's a slippery slope. These a lot of people on there, they take sides, SNY versus GP, and I think that kind of they dive into the political aspect of that too much,
right?
And that was the problem that my wife was having, because she was on there. My wife, she wouldn't say she was in a lot of those support groups before, and what she told me was that there's girls that would open up, hey, that my man is over there on an SNY yard, and the girls would just open up on her, man. They would just be like, oh, well, your husband's a freaking piece of shit, or, he's this and that, he's over there with those guys, and blah, 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 snitch this, snitch that. And it's like, man, really? Like, unfortunately, that's what a lot of those groups turn into.
But like now, like I said, a lot of
this call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
A lot of them now, even the wives, of the guys on the main line, a lot of them now are starting to understand, like, hey, you know what, man, our intent here is to support those doing time, our loved ones. We shouldn't be getting involved in whatever issues or whatever politics or whatever classification. That has nothing to do with us. We're all part of the same struggle. Our loved ones are in prison, and we're supposed to be here to support each other and make these visiting processes and these holidays, and whatnot. We're supposed to be here to support each other. But so if you guys really can't support us in that sense, then you really shouldn't be on these pages. But like I said, you're going to get it anyway to the social media, and there really is no social media police when it comes to that. So sorry we couldn't help you with more on that, but like I said, you can go on there and find some good people. I don't want to take nothing away from them.
My best advice, just from past experiences, if your loved one is in SNY, don't talk about that. If you want to have just you want to have like an overall good experience, just don't mention it. You shouldn't have to. If they ask you where your husband's at, just say that they're on a GP yard.
Just say he's in prison.
Hey, they've asked my wife that before. Hey, what yard's your husband on? Oh, he's on A yard, and they just leave it at that, And the thing is, and the thing is, it's not about. Well, she's ashamed. My wife is actually she's very proud of the decisions that I've made to come over here. But she also understands that this environment, and she's not trying to hear all that. That'll end the conversation just like that. If it's an SNY person that's asking you that, because really it doesn't matter. But so if it's an SNY person that's asking you, they're like, oh, hey, where's your husband at? Oh, he's on AR. That'll end that, but they won't disrespect you. If you say it for, if they ask questions, oh, is he over there with so-and-so? Just, I don't get involved with any of that stuff. I just want to know information for my loved one, and they'll leave it at that, And so that's another avenue to do it, And it's kind of like inmate Twitter, though. There's going to be rumors and stuff, so you have to be careful if you're looking for information to support your loved one. Also, the CDCR website gives some pretty good information. Also, how Jesse said go ahead, Jim.
And you know what? Also, it doesn't necessarily like because she just mentioned on here that she's old school. She's not really into the TikTok and Instagram or whatnot. She's more of a making phone calls type of person. You could always if you have insurance, you could always reach out to your primary healthcare doctor, and you could ask them if they could set you up with some type of counseling or where they could set you up with like a therapist, because I find that for some people it works, for some people it doesn't, but that might be another avenue, if you have insurance,
professional.
Because they're there to listen. I know I've done it in the past, and they listen.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
They're there to listen.
And this kind of
go ahead.
This kind of goes into our topic anyway, and basically, like I wanted to talk about the family visiting, and I wanted to talk about the experience with my wife because my wife is my world, but what do you do though? What do you do when you're in the situation, where you wake up, one day, or you realize you're like, hey, the love of my life, man, my soulmate is a convicted killer. My soulmate is a lifer. This person that I met through whatever way, shape, or form might spend the rest of his life in prison. When Jesse came to prison, he was LWOP. He was life without parole. There was no getting out for life without parole. He did what he had to do within the courts to give himself eligibility for parole, but Jesse is a lifer. He's as it stands, he's got a life sentence. I think, well, no, because you got the 10-year enhancement, so he's got life plus the 10 years and whatnot. Me, I'm a double lifer technically. I'm doing life for murder, and I'm doing life for using a firearm in the commission of a murder. 25 to life plus 15 to life, and that's very, very that's an extreme circumstance for any relationship. And yeah, think about that.
How do you begin to develop a healthy relationship on those terms? That just goes to show like the resolve for women who do these, do time with their dudes, and not just women in romantic relationships, but family members and everything. Like how do you begin to think like, man, how can I support somebody that I love, whether it's my spouse, whether it's my brother, whether it's my you know, whatever it is, you know, and knowing, you know, having that in mind, like, man, you know, he's got life.
That's the elephant in the room. My wife does not accept that term. Because I tell her, look, you know, we refer to ourselves as lifers. We even say the guys that are on the streets, oh, he was a lifer and stuff like that. Well, my wife, how she views it, and she's told me that, I hate that term. I don't want you calling yourself a lifer. You know, you got the possibility of parole, but we use that term because when we caught our time, that's what it was. Life was life, man. You get 7 to life, you're done. You're going to die in here. They're not going to let you out. You get that. That's what we call it, the kickstand.
Yeah, you got a kickstand behind your number.
Yep, you got a kickstand behind. So I got 2 kickstands. I get rid of one life sentence. Guess what? I still got the other one. But it's not life without parole. You know, it's not condemned. Look at Carlos. Carlos comes on these. He's done sessions with you, James, and Carlos is condemned. he's
get back as far as that.
Yeah, he's condemned to die. They're going to execute him if they ever implement the death penalty again in California. He's on that list. You know, so there's different levels to it. Is Carlos a lifer? Well, I mean, he's not a deather. What's that term? You know, he's condemned. So yeah, there's different levels to it. But you know, we think about it. All right, so my wife and I, we're not MWI. That's what my wife calls it, met while incarcerated. We were together out in society. I committed the crime. She you know, she told me, you know, all those years ago, yeah, there was love, man. I can tell from the moment that we met that there was something different about our relationship. But you were fucking crazy. And I wasn't going to get into all that stuff, you know.
What does that say about her? Because she's still here with you.
Yeah, but the thing is that I know my wife is crazy.
Right.
In a good way.
And clearly she knew you were crazy.
Yeah, but it's just when fireworks fly, they fly.
Right.
You know, and the thing is also now my wife is in here. She's spending time with me. She's laying next to me. My wife looks at me with unconditional love. She doesn't, you know, when I climbed into bed next to her and I'm laying there and, you know, hey, we're sensitive thugs. So I crawl in, you know, to bed with her, and my wife is laying next to a convicted killer. But my wife doesn't see that. My wife only sees the love of her life. And that is who I am. I'm that person. I'm not this monster. I'm not, you know, this person that they portrayed me to be in my trial and whatnot. And I was all those things. I can't say that I wasn't, because I was. I take responsibility for the things that led me here. I've done very, very bad things. You know, I have blood on my hands. The thing is that that's not who I am today. My wife has always seen who I was supposed to be, my true self. But that's, you know, it's crazy to think about that, you know, to think about, okay, Jesse's he's a good motherfucker. You know, Jesse's very, very, he's a very loving person. He has a lot of great qualities. Is he not? He's a convicted killer. Jesse's a fucking convicted hitman. You know, he killed somebody for money. Is he not worthy of love? Is this one mistake that he made at 17 years old? You know, is he not worthy of love? He absolutely is. You know, he's absolutely worthy of respect. But we have to earn those things.
And it's funny that you say that, because I've had somebody tell me, you know, like, to me, you were never so-and-so. You know what I mean? The only person I knew.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
When you were with me, you were Jesse, you know, and sure, they knew who that my alter ego was, my avatar. Yeah. They knew that. But with them, I was Jesse, you know what I mean? And I you know, I say this today, like, that's crazy, like, that you could see that, because I didn't see that then.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, today, I'm absolutely Jesse. I'm all those things that you may have seen back then. I don't know how you seen it or anybody could see that previously, because I was truly a wicked, evil person, you know what I mean? I lived my life, you know.
And that's so sad. I'm gonna call back, James.
All right, perfect. And I have a few more questions when you guys, you know, tap back in.
Okay.
All right.
No problem. We'll be back.
Thank you. All right, and I'm going over your messages, Amy, and man, it's really heartbreaking. You know what I'm reading here. Yeah, definitely. You know, you can't let, you know, if that's what's happening, that's wrong. You know, so I'm not sure exactly, you know, what I could do, you know, to help you in that situation, but I'll ask around, you know, I'm new at this. I'm not, I'm not well versed, as far as how things work in prison or how to file grievances or whatnot. But I'll try to see what I could do, and take it from there. And I see Fish Larry just showed up. We've only been on for about 50 minutes now, so you haven't missed that much, Fish Larry.
This call is now being recorded.
Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
David Lopez,
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello?
All right. Yes, sir.
All right. So I have two questions. There might be more on here, but I'm trying to
Okay. Ask your questions.
Okay. It sounded like ICEMAN. Fish Lair SoCal just showed up, and I do have a question from El ICEMAN. He wants to know,
Okay.
did either one of you, did either one of the homies qualify for youth offender programs?
Yeah, Jesse did.
That was me. I committed my murder when I was a juvenile, and I actually, when I got out of the SHU the first time, well, not the first time, but I got kicked out for my validation from the SHU. I was actually transferred for the youth offender program, but because of my prison gang ties and my associations, they didn't want to allow me into the youth offender program because I was already older, but I qualified for the program, and I was specifically transferred to that prison to participate in the youth offender program. But when I got there, administration was like, no, this is not going to happen, because they felt by putting me in the youth offender program that I would have basically corrupted youth, and 100%, because even though they kept me on the yard actually ended up becoming my yard. So I absolutely did everything they thought I would do if I lived in that unit, and I actually corrupted a bunch of youngsters while I was there, because in my mind, at that point in my life, I couldn't understand how you get to come to prison as a kid. You just committed a murder a couple years ago, or you committed a life crime a couple years ago, gangbanging in the streets, and then you come to prison, and now you're in this youth offender program trying to play soft.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I look back at it, and it low-key honestly breaks my heart to think that that's the kind of mind that I had, that I thought so little of these youngsters, these children, these kids or whatever, that I was actually putting them up on eyelids, and basically, like I was telling them, like, no, you guys, because I felt, well, I've had to do my part, guys like David and I and all the other dudes that had, subscribed to this philosophy of this life we were living, we had to come to prison, and we had to put in work, and we had to get our hands dirty, and we had to do what we had to do so that we had the opportunity to just kick back and be like, all right, I've done my thing, now I can fall back and get involved in whatever I want to get involved in. I couldn't understand how they could create these programs and these kids come straight to prison and start being Christians or start doing the right thing with themselves at a young age. So, like I said, they didn't want me in the program, and rightfully so. And so what I did from outside the program, from another building on the yard, I would basically tell the youngsters that were coming up, like, look, you guys are the first to go. You don't get to come to prison and throw your feet up and get your life together. You want to come back in a few years and try this youth offender program, you can do that, but we're not doing it like that. That's not how this shit works. I look back at it now, and it's like, man, I probably ruined some of those kids, because maybe where they had the intention of doing the right thing because they seen somebody investing in them, they had some idiot like me right there, throwing their life away. And who knows how many of them went along and basically immersed themselves in this lifestyle, So, yeah, I am a youth offender. I went to board last year as a youth offender. I was able to go to board early because I was a juvenile youth offender. Like Dave said, I used to have life without the possibility of parole, so I didn't have board prior to that. However, when I came back from court the last time, I came back with 25 to life, 15 to life for the murder, and 10 years for the gun because I'm under the old law. But yeah, so I went to board, and so any of this youth offender stuff does apply to me, and I just wish that, they even ask you, well, why didn't you turn your life around when you had the LWOP taken off, you know, and I had to explain that to them, like it's not that easy, you know. When you come in here, I got busted at 21 years old for a murder I committed when I was 17. I was in the California Youth Authority, and I got out, and then they ended up coming and getting me, you know. So you guys have heard my story. So when when I got busted, I knew I was gonna never. At least I believed I was never walking out of here again. So when I had my LWOP taken off, my life without possibility of parole taken off my sentence, you don't just get to turn off that callousness in your heart, you know, because for you to accept and deal with the reality that you're never going to walk out of here when you walked in here as a kid, you have to become callous. And I was already callous. Obviously, I was committing murders at a young age, and so I basically said, you know what, F it, I'm just going to do what I got to do in here. So when I got that LWOP taken off, there was a little glimmer of hope. But at the end of the day, you just don't get to, you know, reconnect yourself with humanity and reality. Like, oh man, maybe one day I can get out of here. It wasn't that easy. It took me a lot of years and a lot more struggle to come to the realization that I can get out of here. You know that
you can, yeah. Me, I got convicted of I came in on my murder at 29, so I missed any cutoff. But I knew what I was doing. You know, I was immature. Because of the, you know, I came in at a young age, but I knew what I was doing.
And so, I sent mine to this Jess. I sent mine to a fish slayer. Good looking out. Thanks for checking in. We're wondering about you too.
Yep. Hey, you know the crazy part is we could bring 10 CDs to the family visit, and Jesse, he was like, all right, let's check out let's see what your CD collection is, right? So the first CD I have on there is like Ride the Lightning from Metallica, and then I have Slayer, Rain and Blood, and then I went to The Weeknd, After Hours, The Weeknd, Beauty Behind the Madness.
I seen Slayer in there, and I was like, oh, they're going to have to come cart your old lady up out of here.
Yeah, he was like, yeah.
We can't take Slayer to the family visit. They're going to end up coming out to scrape your old lady out of the
Yeah. But, hey, James, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm listening right here. I'm right with you.
I got to make sure you're still around, James. You know what I mean?
Hey, James, so real quick, what I was telling you guys earlier before we carry on about the relationships, what I was telling you guys earlier about my little homie getting his family visits and coming back, I remember specifically, this was years ago, I remember telling myself, like, why would anybody want to be going through that? You know, see him stressed out, because I remember what it felt like walking in here when I got busted and knowing that I was never going to walk out of these walls again. And this dude having to do that every couple months, like come back and reacclimate himself to prison and just a reminder every time that what he's missing every couple months. That's the way I seen it. I seen it like, well, why would you want to go out to family visit every couple months, dog, just to come back and be all messed up, like stressed out, worried about your lady, worried about your kids, things like that. You know, like that just goes to show how selfish and inconsiderate and callous I was at that time. That it's like, you know, like, come on, bro, like, that's craziness. Like, I wouldn't want to go through that. And I remember telling myself, like, man, I'm cool. I'll never want to get family visits. I'm in here jailing, making the best of this. But how ignorant does that sound? You know, how gay does that sound? Like, I used to tell the homies all the time, man, I'd rather be in here hanging out with all you dudes than out there hanging out with some chick. You know what I mean? Like, tell me.
Yeah, because I want to get into that further. But you know, that's a subtopic that just spiraled off. But I need to hear question number 2 real quick, and then I'm gonna try to spin that back around, because that just got into like something that I was thinking of in that aspect. But let's because I want to. It's about our other Sallies also out there. Right. Yes, so I want to hear the other question.
All right.
What you got for us?
So this was coming from LA Analyst, and she's asking, does one have to be married to receive family visits?
No. Now, you have to be married or in a domestic partnership to receive one with that person. So you can also get approved for family visits to go out there with like your mom. It says immediate family.
Yeah,
so
mom, dad,
siblings,
brothers,
yeah, and foster siblings and stuff like that. But they're like 2 of the people that went out there. Okay, we all went out there with our families this time, which was great. It was good because there was like we all had kids and stuff out there, and it was real fun in that regard. But there was so it was my wife and I and our son, and then on the one next to me was it was a guy and his wife and their 2 daughters, And then so we were next to each other, and then the other 2 units, there was 4 of us that went out. The other 2 units were just siblings and moms, so they went and bought their their moms came, and it's my mom ain't trying to sit in that place for no 2 days, but for the moms that come up and make that sacrifice, it's actually cool because they had a lot of fun over there. You can hear.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
It sounded like in those units, because we keep the doors open to let air in and stuff like that, but it sounded like it was almost like a Christmas time at a family's house. All the laughter, you can hear the games, you can hear the
sounds you don't hear in prison.
You don't hear that in prison. Yeah, you can hear the mom like being stern and laughing, and everybody just, it was insane. It was almost like looking into like another world, and you can hear that. So with my wife, we're married, but there's individuals that have a domestic partnership, and I heard that they're going to stop honoring those, but I don't think that that's going to fly, because that sounds like a legal, court binding, status.
Yeah, if it holds up out there in society, it's going to hold up right here. Plus, it's already written in the DOM and the Title 15 about domestic partnerships. So, in order for them to change the policy, they would have to change the whole.
They would have to change everything. Yeah.
And everything.
And the crazy part though is that my siblings, I would love for my siblings to come to bring my nephews and my nieces. That would be amazing, because they're basically growing up with me they're in a visiting room, so they're going to show up throughout the years in a visiting room, and I want to go out there and like right here they have a cool like little kid area, but I would love like my siblings that would be super weird, like if my brother came and my sister and my mom, and we're all old, and then my wife and my son, so there's 5 of them out there, and then like every once in a while I'm trying to like give my wife the signal like to the room, and she's just like, no, we're not doing that, and my that would be the elephant in the room, and then I could see my mom walking around, because my mom is very vocal and blunt, so I could actually see her walking around pointing out stains. Yeah, she would be like, disgusting. Yeah, so that would be kind of weird,
All right, so with all that in mind, right? So with that in mind, let's transition to some of these questions right here, right? So I'm gonna ask you, Dave. Given your crimes, you've been pretty explicit about the fact that that I'm in prison for contract murder for and you're in prison for a cold-blooded murder.
Yep.
Given that in mind, and there's a lot of people in here for for crazy things, and with that in mind, do you believe that you're deserving of love, or that I'm deserving of love, or people in our situations are deserving of love? What's your perspective on that?
I do, and the thing is, I didn't always feel that way. Now, when there's a part of me when you commit a murder, there's a part of you that changes at that point. There's a part of your humanity that's gone, and it's hard to explain that feeling, because I don't, if you have any type of religious background, if you have any like right or wrong in the universe, but in a spiritual aspect, there's a belief that you commit a murder, you've gone into the dark side, and it's almost like a spiritual feeling right there, and you get that leaves you eventually where you're just like, it's what it is. But that's the problem about committing your first murder. That's the issue, because the floodgates are open. I know that LastChanceHomie's on here, so I'm gonna say you can't unsuck a D.
Yeah. Oh, LastChanceHomie's on. Yeah.
Yep.
Just to keep that stuff G-rated for my dude HomieLastChanceHomie.
Yep. Yeah, you can't unsuck a D, and so the experience is crazy, and a part of your humanity leaves at that point, and I felt like a monster. I was stressed out. I felt like something had changed within me, and something was different. and that person, whatever it is that I was, because
You have 60 seconds remaining.
you find out something about yourself at that moment. Okay, I'm absolutely capable of doing something like this, and not only am I capable of it, I did it. It's done. There's, and so, yeah, I do feel like a part of me didn't deserve to be loved. Like I was like the Phantom of the Opera. All right, I'm going to call back, James.
Okay.
Cut off right now.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. So, Fish Layer SoCal, thank you, for that $9.99 donation. I'll go and let them know right now that they have that coming their way. And then there was something else that I wanted to a comment that there's a comment from ICEMAN that I want to go ahead and read off on here, and it pertains to last week, Dave, keeping his composure with that interaction that he had with that other gentleman, and luckily Jesse was there and he was able to quell the situation, and disaster a disaster was averted.
This call is now being recorded.
Link. You have a prepaid call from
David Lopez,
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call.
Hello.
All right, James.
All right. So,
yes, sir.
Fish Layer just dropped $9.99 on you guys. So he says, for the fellas, I've been jamming all day long, or all day here, taking the Christmas lights down.
Oh yeah, that's cool, man. That's the and thank you very much, man.
He sees something that he wants to contribute to a cause like that, it means a lot, and it definitely goes a long way for us in here,
Hey, what was crazy? Speaking of, because I was thinking, man, I got another piece of my ostrich boots. They're coming to fruition. And I told my son that at the visit, and my son was like, ostrich boots? What are those gonna look like? He's like, they're gonna be made out of bird. And I was like, man, I don't know. I just said ostrich because it sounded exotic, like something a rich person would get. And he's like, well, if you want a rich, like something like exotic, why don't you kill like a gorilla or something? You make your boots out of gorilla, I just looked at that kid like, man, like I've never loved you so much, man.
I wish I had Fish Layer's problems, though. I'd love to be taking down my Christmas right about now.
Hey, and
I think this is Go ahead.
And speaking of boots or a person with one leg, Fish Layer's asking, what's the story on the one leg Celly? Remember he said he had one?
I did, and I will answer that question, man. I will. And the crazy part, I still remember his name. His name was Manny. He was an OG. So Manny, he's probably dead by now, because he was already in his late 50s, and this was in 2001. In the light, I mean, he was already missing his leg, so he was living life.
He already had 1 foot in the grave.
Yeah, he was literally. Yeah, 1 foot was already dead. One leg was already dead. The Reaper was coming for the rest of them. So yeah, so I get there to SATF, which was New Corcoran, in 2000. I've talked to the viewers about that, that journey. But one of my cellies was Manny. So I walk in, right, and I'm young, man. This is 2000, 2001, 2002 when I was over there. So I'm 18, 19, and 20 years old at this time. And I was on the level 3, so I had to be around close to 20 by that time. So I walk in the cell, and right off the bat, I see this OG. And this is like the C number OGs. Those are the years of the C number. Manny was like one of those C number guys. He could have had a B number, but I think it was a C number. No more than a D, though. He was old school generation. So them dudes are built to last. Like, this dude was a convict, man. This dude was like, he had that look.
His leg probably fell off while he was doing burpees.
No, he had one of these, like, right off the bat, I seen that he's standing there, and he's standing upright, right? And what's the bird that, the flamingo? He's standing there upright like a flamingo, right? He's got one leg. He's got one leg, right? And he's just, I mean, this thing is a wreck, man. Like, he's not budging, he's not crooked or nothing, man. He's just, like, he's got two legs, but one of them's gone, right? And he's just standing there looking at me, right? And he's like, all right, who's this youngster, right? But he was a cool cat, you know? And he's welcoming, he uses, like, the lockers and stuff in the bunk to kind of, like, get over to my direction. And I come in, and he grabs my thing, my bedroll, and he's like, look, I'll put your bedroll right here. And he starts putting it on the bottom bunk, and I was like, hey, OG, I can't take, I said, hey, you ain't got a leg, man. You know, you ain't got a leg. He's like, oh, don't worry about it, man. He goes, I prefer to be on the top bunk so I can strengthen my upper body. And he's like, look, and right off the bat, he does like he does a one-legged squat.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
It's hard for me to describe that generation. I'm telling you, these dudes were like Duracell batteries. This dude just said, look, man, I got full mobility on this leg. And he went into like a one-legged squat to show me that he's got it under control. And I was like, look, man, if the homies find out that I'm on the bottom bunk, it's not going to look good on the yard. He's like, don't worry about the homies. I got this, you know? Like, I got the top bunk, you got the bottom bunk, and that's what it is. You're the little homie. And I was like, damn, all right, this fool's cool. So I noticed that he had one of them, like, this wasn't a like a standard prosthetic, man. This was like a early 2000s prison prosthetic. So this sucker looked huge, man. It was like a giant plastic leg, you know, that he was missing the leg from just below the thigh. So his knee was gone and all that stuff, right? But this thing went all the way up into his leg, and it freaking like locked in, you know, and he would just cruise around with it. And then I asked him, I was like, hey, what happened to your leg? He's like, he goes, it depends who's asking. You know, I was like, what the hell? He's like, yeah, you know, sometimes I'll just tell people I got it blown off in Vietnam, because he said he was that age, you know. And he goes, but realistically, I think he lost it in an abscess. Yeah, shooting heroin or something, you know. Yeah. But yeah, that's the story of Manny, one-legged Manny.
Yeah, they call him on the yard. They call him Jackhammer.
Hey, cool cat though, man. Cool cat. I think about him often, you know. And
Hey, you got any more questions?
Yeah, I do. Oh, actually, I have two comments, and they're both going to be coming from an ICEMAN. So the ICEMAN, he just dropped $10 on you guys. So man, you guys are definitely building up that bank right there. You guys are up to $80 so far, man. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to cover this now. No, but I got you guys.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to get a separate job.
Yeah. The podcast is gonna go dark. Hey, hey, what happened to James? I don't know. He took off with a suitcase full of $80. He's over there at the MGM. Yeah, our $80. Yeah, he sold a soul for $80. I don't know, man. I don't know about that James character.
Yeah, he sold all the podcast equipment. And,
yeah, he put it into
the casino.
Yeah, turned it all into dollar bills and went to a strip joint in Vegas. You know?
Yeah, you're a sick man. He's over there at the Mustang Ranch.
I can't talk to you when you're like this, Jess.
Yeah.
No, hey, this
that's right. Look out, though, man. Appreciate it.
We appreciate it, man. We feel the love, man. You know, and that's.
I might.
That's the boy right there.
I might have to go to the roulette, and I'm gonna have to put it either red or black, and winner takes all. If you guys don't hear from me next week, you guys know it didn't work out for me. So, and then
always the red, never the black.
So big shout out.
See him in a car chase in L.A. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, big shout out to ICEMAN, for dropping that $10 on you, man. And then he actually
all for his support, man.
And he just blessed me with 20s for myself. So hey, highly appreciate that, ICEMAN. It's not required, but highly appreciate it. I know it's definitely rough out there, especially in California and in that area. Especially in like San Francisco area, it's brutal out there. When it comes to rent and the price of everything is just off the chain out there. But ICEMAN, he put a comment on here, because how you had mentioned last week that you almost took off on somebody last week, or you were being tested. So So,
I did.
So he said, he put, I'm glad David kept his composure last week, so that he preserved and saved his family visit. Thanks to Jess for sensing an issue.
Yeah, that's just being aware, of your surroundings and how to deal with it. Like with Jess, he's one of the few people that he can walk up and grab my ass and freaking, not literally, but he can walk up and grab me and freaking, hey, let's get the fuck out of here. Let's go. What are you doing?
If I do grab his ass, it'll be followed with a good game.
Yeah,
he's like, Coach, I didn't even play.
Hey, Jess, this was a near fight. That was uncalled for.
Yeah, that was uncalled for. I'm about to punch this guy, and you're grabbing my ass. What are you doing?
I'm gonna tell my wife.
I'm telling my wife I feel violated.
Yeah, you're in some shit now. Yeah, but no, it's good, man. It's crazy because my wife, she that really fucked with me, man. That affected me. My wife told me that I was different for a whole week. That something was like kind of off about my character, and yeah, that's a scary thing right there. There's nothing like that feeling of like just anger, that came right there. That let me know that I have a lot of stuff to work on. Yeah, I was able to pull out of it. Thank God I was able to pull out of it, because in the past I wasn't,
and that's what he needs to focus on more than the relapse. He needs to focus on the growth.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Because in the past there was no other option. Once you've already redlined it, it's go time. You know what I mean? And the reality is, if he didn't, he didn't snap. And anger is a natural emotion. To be angry and people to get under your skin, it's natural. It's all about how we deal with it, and even though he may have allowed himself to get a little further to the left and the right, it is what it is. He made the right decision in the end. He allowed himself, because truth be told, even when you get to that certain place, your friends or not, it's like, hey, watch out, fool. And because I've done it, I've been with homeboys where I've even smacked my homeboy, like, what the fuck, don't get in grown folks' business, fool. Get out the way. This is between me and this dude, So it speaks, volumes about where my brother right here is at today. And so, fortunately, it didn't become anything worse, and I was able to, bring him to the side and move on, and he got his family visit, and everything's good, and it didn't become a liability to him or I, because everything, we're both reflections of each other. We live here, and so absolutely, and real quick to Iceman, good looking out on the e-cards. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I like them, man.
Both of them had a little bit of, a cool little positive vibe to them, so I appreciate that. Thank you, bro.
Man, I'm jealous over here.
Anything else?
El Iceman hasn't sent me no e-cards over here. What's up? What's going on over here?
Yeah. That's it. You're out. Hey, we're going to have to say, because we know you're going through something right now because of that, James, so we're going to send you a get well soon card.
His feelings are hurt right now. Get him a get well card. But,
yeah.
So I had previously asked Dave, given his crimes, if he felt that he was deserving of love, so I want to piggyback on that same question.
Yeah, same question.
And for me, most of my life, those of you that have been here for a while, heard my beginnings. You heard where I came from. You heard, how I became the kind of individual that was out there agreeing to murder, an innocent man simply for financial gain at such a young age. And one of the main reasons why I was so careless and so reckless with my life, as well as, an innocent man's life, is because I didn't care for myself, and I didn't believe that I was worthy of anything other than whatever lane I paved for myself. You guys know that I was, extremely abused and neglected by my parents at a very young age, and so that what that does to a child is it creates a belief in them. For me, it created a belief in me that I was undeserving of love. If the two people who were supposed to love me most are two people that hurt me the most, and so from an early age, I came to believe that I was unworthy of love, and that was just the beginning. There was many other episodes throughout my life that reinforced that belief, so by the time I came into prison at 21 years old, for this murder that I committed when I was 17, I wholeheartedly believed that I was undeserving of love, you know what I mean? Because I believed this most of my life, you know? And of course, I masked that insecurity with arrogance and aggressiveness, you know? I ran through life acting as if I was God's gift to the world and God's gift. And by doing that, I was preventing myself from ever being disappointed. You know, I acted as if I didn't care what any female thought or what any female believed. If she got me, she was lucky, you know? But deep down inside, and I only know this today, all my life I believed all that crap. Well, you know what? I don't care. I don't care about no chick. I don't need no chick, this, that, you know. She's lucky to have me, you know. And so, but now I understand the reason why I was that way is because of my insecurities, because I didn't believe I was worthy of love. And I believed that for years and years and years. Honestly, I'm just now over the last few years coming to understand that all along, no matter what I had done in my past, no matter what I had been through, no matter how many hearts I had broken, no matter how many people I had hurt, you know, humans are always worthy of.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I believe that now, today, more than ever before, that I am absolutely deserving of love, you know. I didn't believe that, you know, previously. I did not believe that, you know, and I didn't care for it, because for me, love equaled pain. You know, and I didn't want to subject myself to any more pain. You know?
I'm going to call back right now, James.
All right. I'll be here holding it down. All right. So, you know, when I go ahead and give a shout out to all of you guys, you know, tuning in, really appreciate it. And that's why we're here, you know, so you guys could either, you know, listen to these conversations, you know, drop comments, you know, and get us out there in the YouTube algorithm. We just hit 870 subscribers, and it just seems like, you know, I started this you know, this channel, you know, just yesterday. You know, it's been what I think we just hit like 4 months. Oh, hang up. Let me see. Okay, so it didn't. The call didn't connect. So they'll most likely be calling us back shortly. And I'll go ahead and let them know on the score right now is 7-0 Detroit. Anyhow, you know, so you know, really appreciate, you know, you guys, you know, tuning in, you know, day after day, and you know, hour after hour. You know, I know you guys could be doing a bunch of other things with your time. And I'm not sure how many of you caught it, but I recently did a in-person interview with a gentleman that just recently paroled, and I'm still editing it. I would say about 90% done editing the video, and as soon as I'm done with that, I'll go ahead and I'll either try to most likely I'll release it tomorrow, but if not, for sure I'll have it up there by what's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Monday, so no later than Tuesday. You know, unfortunately, you know, with work and, you know, coming home and you know, and you know, pretty much, you know, just feeling, you know, or, you know, doing the things that I have to do around the house. You know, it's kind of difficult for me, you know, to sit down, you know, for whatever amount of time I need to, you know, edit this video. So I've been doing it, you know, bits and pieces, you know, here and there, before I go to sleep or before I go to work. You know, I try to sneak off and try to do that, but it's definitely not easy. And that's one of the main reasons that I transitioned from pre-recording, you know, these conversations on the phone to lives, because, you know, it was taking me double the time, you know, to get these conversations out, opposed to, you know, doing them live. You know, they're up and you know, one and done pretty much. At one point, when I was interviewing with Jesse and with Ricky, I was backed up on numerous interviews, and it took me some time, you know, to finally, you know, catch up. And that's kind of like when I ended up, you know, finally just making the decisions that I was gonna go ahead and hold these conversations live, opposed to pre-recording them.
This is Global Call. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello.
Hey, James.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry about the delay. Did you figure that we had our door open, so we had to go grab our tray real quick?
Oh no, I thought you were having issues with the phone service, but you know.
You know it's crazy because right now Jesse's he's putting his tray in a bowl right now, and he's been working out more. That's what I'm gonna say. He's been working out more lately. He's been a lot healthier and stuff. But right now his breathing is concerning. Like we moved pretty quick. You know, we went around, grabbed the tray, and you know we got the viewers are being patient. You know, and waiting for us. But I don't know what it was with that walk right there, Jess. No,
I was panicking.
He was panicking right now.
I held my breath the whole time. I felt like there was a bomb in the
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Yeah, but anyway, James. Yeah, we're proud of you, James. We're proud of you, man. You're really coming through. You're really coming through. You're doing what you got to do, man. You're being a real podcaster.
Hey, you know what? And you know, Amy just made an offer. You know, she said that she's willing to assist me and whatnot. But to be honest with you, I do really appreciate the offer. But you know, if I were to accept that offer, it's definitely not gonna sit well with my wife. So I'm gonna have to politely decline your offer. You know, I'm gonna have to go at this by myself right now, just because it's I'll be opening a Pandora's box. You know, so when my wife agreed, to allow me, to go down this journey, she's been supportive, but it was just gonna be me, and I wouldn't be dealing with females. So my wife, it would definitely cause a problem between me and her, and I'm definitely trying to avoid any issues. So once again, thank you for the offer though.
Hey, that's cool, man. That's cool that you recognize who the boss is of your relationship. every yeah.
You know what? Honestly, you know what?
All successful. Yeah.
Honestly, I haven't always been, the best, the greatest or the best partner. And a lot that had to do with was with me, me, always trying to go against the grain and whatnot, and I have to recognize where, that my wife, she's a great person, she's helped me, to get where I'm at, with communicating and being a better person. So I wouldn't want to put her in that position, and plus I wouldn't want to hear her nagging and making comments. So it's just best just to play it safe.
Well, that's good. It's good that you kind of brought that up, right? Because our topic does revolve around relationships right now, and one of the questions that we ask ourselves, is what are the characteristics of a healthy relationship? And my wife and I, we've talked about it, because I had to tell my wife, okay, well, I have to be ready to deal with working with people of the opposite sex. That's just what it is. When I go into the workplace and whatnot, and women are gonna hit on me. That's just the way it is. I hate to sound. I don't want to sound conceited or anything.
You make me sick.
But no, not saying Amy's gonna hit on you or nothing. No, she's coming from a place of genuine. You could tell she's coming from a place of genuine. Probably she just wants to help and just be a part of something great, because you got something great going on.
What did she say?
No, that she offered James to. Yeah, Jesse was getting the trade. She offered James to help him out with his podcast, and he said, well, that'll cause conflict because he knows his wife.
Oh,
It'll cause conflict. My wife and I, we've talked about stuff like that. Okay, so in a professional capacity, my wife is comfortable with me dealing with females, but there has to be a boundary. There has to be a boundary set up. And in these places, we don't really know. Well, we know what the boundaries are just because we know standard respect. But there is going to be times where, the swarms are going to come. the swarms are going to come. We're getting out of prison. We're like preserved in a bottle. You know, we're in a can in this place. So there's going to be people that are going to be attracted to us. There's going to be people that are going to want something else. And the crazy part is that we have to be able to identify that, you know.
I just want to add something to that. You know, it's not going to be real quick, but just yesterday I actually talked with a friend of mine. He's an ex-lifer. He's actually in transitional housing right now. He got busted when he was 18. He did 26 years in here. And it's a trip. And I told him because, you know, Blue's getting ready to get out. Joe, for those of you that listen, Joe, Austin Blue, he's getting ready to get out. Been in here since he was 17, did 26, 27, almost 28 years. Anyways, I wanted some advice for him. So I told my boy yesterday, I said, hey, man, what's up? Because I talked to 3 ex-lifers yesterday, and I said, hey, man, give me some advice to give to my dude. You know, he's going out to the streets. What do you want me to tell him? And the one that I'm speaking of right now, he said, look, man, I'm going to be straight up with you, bro. He goes, the biggest obstacle, the biggest, you know, disruption that I've dealt with out here is relationships. And he's only been out there about 5 months, you know, 4 or 5 months. And he goes, it's crazy, you know. He paroled in a relationship, right? And as soon as he got out, within a matter of a month and a half, his girl started getting like real possessive and just like
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
So he ends up meeting another woman, awesome woman. This chick's super successful. She's all in the restorative justice community. She's actually part of the getting SB 260 bill passed, part of getting us our free phone calls. She puts bills on, and so she does her stuff, and she's super successful, very independent, has a child. And she showed him, a world that he knew nothing about. And as far as he's concerned, he was in love with this woman. Like, he's like, man, I think I found it. Like, and you're fortunate. That's super lucky to get out of prison after all that time and find a woman like that, you know, who understands your life, lives your life with you, you know, and not only that, you know, she's you know, exposing you to things that you know nothing about. And but it was crazy because within a matter of a few months, she started getting very insecure as well. You know, like she started getting this thing in her head about, well, you know what, you've been gone all this time. How do I know? I believe that you want, you know, you've missed so much that you want to see something else. You want to experience other things. And he's like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like you know, like you're exposing me to so many different stimulants that I can't even, what would I need anything else for? Like you're showing me what life is about, and I love you, you know, and I want to be with you, and it just became a real toxic thing, you know. So I said all that to say, just to piggyback off what Dave was saying, you know, and he was like, bro, he goes, we just broke up the other day. I'm just gonna let things be as they may, you know, like and see what happens. Let it try to put itself back together. But I can't. There's nothing I can say. Like there's nothing I could do. He goes, I could get it. I would understand if I had done something wrong or I had cheated on her. But how do I appease her insecurities? You know, and I don't I don't understand it at all. You know, so and it's funny because Nacho, you know Nacho James, you know, I hooked you up with Nacho. You guys got some things going on, and Nacho experienced the exact same things when he got out, you know, like, and he would tell me, like, bro, everything that my girl fell in love with me about is everything she grew to hate on me, like she hated about me, like my personality and my drive and everything, like it got to the point to where she wanted to get in the way of that, like she felt like I was outgrowing her, when that's absolutely not the case. Like, you know, we're growing together now. And it's funny because somebody else told me that recently too, that they experienced that, you know, after doing a bunch of time and getting out and getting in a relationship, and the person that they were with, you know, was trying to hinder their growth, you know, couldn't understand that they're moving together as a unit. And so I was just saying all that because just yesterday a good friend of mine, you know, was telling me that, and he's like, look, dog, everything else it's going to be pretty easy. A lot of it's going to be easy for us, but just know that navigating relationships out here, you know, if there was any insecurity or any issues that you were dealing with in there, when you get out here, it magnifies big time. And then these chicks out here, they just believe that we want something else. They don't understand that we're coming out here at 40 something years of age, that we're ready to settle down. We're not freaking kids anymore. We're not missing anything. We realize what we missed, and it for sure wasn't a woman. You know what I mean? That's not what it was about. You know, it's about coming out here and experiencing life. And if you can do that with your better half, why not?
Yeah, and the crazy part is that we don't have much to go on as far as we have failed relationships of ours in the past, and we have these examples of our homies and people that we were cool with in here that got out, and you know what happened with them. That's what we got to work with. And then top it off, we got like Family Guy. That's the most consistent marriage that I know of.
Yeah.
Peter and Lois.
Lois and Peter Griffin.
Yeah. We don't really have much to to work with as far as, okay, what are healthy boundaries? Because we haven't lived healthy lifestyles up until this point.
Or healthy relationships
at all. Yeah, that our relationships have been a result of whatever spit out of that lifestyle.
Right.
We had false senses of love, of lust, and boundaries, and unreasonable expectations of our significant other. And me, I think that in my life, I want my relationship to be perfect with my wife. But we're not, we don't have to be perfect. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be vulnerable, and I've learned that, But I've had time with my wife before I came into prison, and also I have family visits to actually reestablish what is a healthy relationship, because I wasn't making the best choices when I was with her out on the streets. I was using drugs. I was involved with hardcore gang activity. And so it's a slippery slope right there. So when it comes to working with females, I understand, James, I wouldn't feel comfortable working with a female also, because I wouldn't want my wife being partnered up with another guy. Because I would feel some type of way. But I know that that's not reasonable. It's not it would bother me, but I know it would bother me because of my own insecurities.
Right.
And and so I understand what that is, and I'm getting better at it. My wife is going to have professional relationships, and they're not all going to be with women. And I have to understand that that's just life.
And I concur with that, because as far as what are the characteristics of a healthy relationship, the reality of it is, I don't think either one of us could answer that question, because exactly like you said, we're not healthy individuals. Yes, we're growing to become healthy individuals, but we have not been healthy in the past, and not one relationship in our life has been healthy, prior to whatever we're experiencing right now. So healthy characteristics of a healthy relationship, I could give you examples of what I think might be healthy. I know as I grow to understand myself and understand life and get over certain insecurities and certain defects of character, I know that I'm becoming more healthy. Mm-hmm. But I also know that it's hard to look at a present relationship. It's hard to look at it through the new eyes that I see the world from, because I have so much of my residual past still in my subconscious, still in my heart, so, and like Dave said, somebody pointed that out to me recently too, like as far as, having, platonic relationships, because where we come from, it's like men and women are here to do one thing and us get it in, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't, like, I don't know, it's weird, it's very dysfunctional thinking, but the reality is, like, when you meet a bad chick, it's like, okay, well, what's up? How long is it going to take me to get at that? But that's like Dave said, that's not reality. I should be able to work in a place with females and not automatically think, oh, she wants a, or, oh, I'm going to see what's up, see what, like, that's not how that works. And I'm starting to understand that now, but somebody pointed that out recently to me, like, come on, man, it's all about, you have to trust yourself. You know what I mean? I'm going to trust you, but if you can't trust yourself, that's on you. Like that, and Dave's right. We can't say, well, I don't want my girl working with some dude, or I don't want my girl hanging out with this dude or that dude. Like I said, it's easier said than done, but what you do is you have to learn to understand your partner and know your partner and say, okay, you know what? I'm confident in my partner setting healthy boundaries.
I don't want my
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I don't want my wife working with a good-looking dude.
Okay, yeah. That's
maybe I should reiterate that. Hey, she can work with ugly dudes, here and there. But
see, I'm the opposite. I want my chick working with a good-looking dude, so that way I don't feel bad when she levels up. I'm like, you know what, babe? I totally get it. You know what? That's a fine motherfucker right there. Get it in. No. But no. I mean, the reality is, you're right.
She's serious.
Yeah,
absolutely serious. All right, James, we're gonna call back, James.
Hey, I gotta throw my 2 cents in. You know how I was talking earlier about getting a nanny? I was telling my wife
this call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
That I was gonna take.
Let me call back. I have to hear this.
Yeah, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. All right, so definitely, I want to go ahead and give out a shout out to or a big shout out to my wife. She's definitely a great woman, a great mother, a great wife. I do appreciate her, and all of this is possible because she does allow me my space, to get on this computer, and take numerous phone calls, day after day, hour after hour. It does take me away from my family, so I definitely do appreciate that, and I do recognize the sacrifice that she's making.
This call is now being recorded.
Global Tel Link. You have a
Exactly.
Hey, no, she has to be. Okay, we have a bar though. She has to be uglier than that. She wasn't ugly enough. That's the problem. I don't want to. Yeah, I want to see like just. I don't even want to. I want to. I don't want to be able to identify what that is.
Right.
So I told her, hey. I told her, hey, the nanny, the Arnold Schwarzenegger nanny was hideous. I said, we call them in Spanish, we call them gargulas, or gargoyle.
Gargoyles, yeah, gargoyles.
Yeah, one man's trash is another man's treasure, apparently.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's.
We also got Bruce Swillus in here. And he says, not many people know, not many people know what it's like to eat alone, and it shows.
Yeah, that's true. In other words, like everybody's out moving around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
true.
That's what it is, man. Well, yeah. So it's just when it comes to healthy boundaries, working with significant others, and it's just a matter of, okay, well, you could still accept the help, it just depends. Like, okay, so for instance, right, if Amy, for instance, was helping you with the podcast and whatnot, I think it would be different if she's like, okay, well, I can work remotely, I can do this over here, I can help with exposure and whatnot, but it's different than being like, okay, well, you come over to my place and we'll work on this until midnight, and it's different. That would be disrespectful, but we also can't assume though.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
We also can't make assumptions either.
Yeah,
it
all boils down to what your significant other is comfortable with. You got to be willing to. Like I'm willing to set any boundaries that my significant other feels is necessary to ensure that she's comfortable and confident. At the same time, I have to know and trust myself and say, okay, you know what? I would feel disrespected if she was doing something like this to me. So I don't think that this is a good situation to be putting myself in, because I wouldn't like it if she was in that. And those are the kind of situations, those are the kind of boundaries, the kind of healthiness that me personally, I'm just learning to understand that, because again, I lived most of my life not caring what anybody else thought, and it was basically like, hey, I'm gonna do what I do with this chick, and however I choose to do, you just hold it,
Yeah.
Touchdown Rams, Iceman. Nobody knows. Go ahead.
Shots fired.
But like for me, like I don't have a problem with that, as far as if my wife doesn't feel comfortable or whatever reason, I don't know, I've never picked her brain about a situation like that. But for me, it's like I'd rather her be okay, because I could go, I could go to day trips, go wherever I want to go, and do whatever I gotta do as far as with whether it's in a professional setting or for leisure, and I appreciate that now because I know some women, they're not even fine, you going down to Walmart by yourself. So there is a trade-off, and for me, I'd rather have the flexibility of being able to go where I need to go and do whatever I got to do as far as the channel goes, opposed to having issues, just if I'm bring somebody else on board, I rather have that freedom to be able to go wherever I need to go, or if I need to jump on these calls with you guys for 2-3 hours or whatever, and my wife is fine with it, then I'm fine with that. If she doesn't want me, if she doesn't feel comfortable, for me to speak to other women on the phone, then hey, sign me up. As long as I'm not on lockdown, 24, 23 and lockdown, then I'm good with that.
Absolutely.
Well, there has to be
happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, there has to be some trust, and understanding, and communication is everything. If you don't know where that boundary is, James, then I would suggest that you ask her, and just sit down and have the conversation. How do you feel about this? Even if you think you know the answer, maybe you don't. And I've learned that with my wife. It's like, okay, well, I have to ask her certain questions,
because your idea of a healthy boundary may be different than hers, especially given our background.
And in this place, the crazy part about prison is, okay, we're starved of a lot of content in here, in regards to I've said this earlier, relationships and whatnot. So prison, jails, no matter where they're at in the United States, probably the world, but I can speak for California. The California prison system is women are extremely objectified in these places. It's just what it is. We don't have much to watch on TV, so we have like a TMZ and we have whatnot, so they're showing booty shots on TMZ all the time, and they're showing there's girl magazines all over the freaking tiers, with the they're called like Sick Magazine and just stuff like that, and there's guys who, remember, these guys, they're not, a lot of these guys in here, they haven't been with a woman in decades.
Me included.
Yeah, Jesse hasn't done the deed in 23 years. So his recollections are going to eventually get warped into whatever content he's being fed in here. There's a lot of pornography. Jesse doesn't got no pornography, nothing like that, but there's been times.
I got a Rolodex of pornography in my brain.
In his brain, yeah. And that's the thing. That's what he got. And it doesn't mean that he's this or that and whatnot. It's just, think about that. 23 years. He's been by himself. He's still a human being. He's still, he's not gay. As much as
it's questionable.
As much as it's questionable, hey! This is a straight. What's the term? Cisgendered man. Just to be politically correct, but that's hard on him. He came in at the prime of his life. 21 years old with life without parole. His relationships started and materialized with his children and stuff like that when he had his kids.
When I was a kid.
He was a kid. He was 17 years old. When you have your first kid, Jess, what, 16?
I had my first kid when I was 15.
Yeah, 15 years old.
16, yeah.
So think about it. The last relationship that he had with his baby's mom out in society, or whoever he was with at that time, ended at 21 years old, the prime of his life. He was barely old enough to buy alcohol. 23 years goes by.
Probably would have had a bunch more kids if I was getting alcohol soon.
Yeah. And the thing is that, so that, and he's a reflection of the wider issue in prisons. This is the problem. They didn't have family visiting until recently. He did have life. So this is a kid that's coming into his sexual maturity where he's ready to have a relationship and to do what he's got to do as far as being a man, growing into manhood with nothing to look at but TMZ, black and white pornos all over the freaking tiers. all over. Cell phone porn and all that other stuff. But you start to develop a warped sense of what love actually is, what sex actually is, what a healthy relationship is, what a boundary is, and so that's very, very difficult, and that's the problem with prison. So these guys get out without understanding that this has happened to them. He's got post-traumatic sex disorder, and it's no surprise that relationships fail.
Absolutely.
In high numbers, a lot of lifers come back for domestic violence.
All right, we can't hear you guys. It went dark again.
What about now?
Yeah, you guys are good now.
Yeah, you guys. Okay.
We were saying that one of the leading causes of recidivism for long-term offenders is domestic violence and marijuana use, but domestic violence because people don't understand relationships, and we talked about this last week in a domestic violence class. Females are so familiar with communicating their emotions because females tend to be emotional creatures, and so they have a better capacity to express how they feel, what they're thinking, versus a man who was raised on toxic masculinity, and like David said, somebody like me who's been in here his whole life, who don't know how to express myself in a sense entirely when it comes to my emotions. This is something I'm just learning in my recovery.
You got to say as a cisgendered.
Yeah, as a cisgendered individual, right? And so what ends up happening is these guys getting out of prison after long terms and getting into relationships right away, and they tend to when they run out of communication skills, they tend to get aggressive. They tend to become over aggressive with their spouse or whatever, and it becomes a domestic violence relationship, whether it's a physical or verbal. Or either way, that it becomes because you got to remember we've been in here talking to men, the way, and everybody in here is over toxic and over masculated.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like Saturday Night Live, and you got this chick twerking upside down. That welcome to the world now, Jess. Figure that out.
Yeah.
You tell the woman that you love and that you want to be with. That, hey, I want to have a healthy relationship with you, but I don't, it's okay to say, hey, I don't know where to begin.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I need the help. I don't want, we don't have the weird gene, like some people have the weird gene. So no, it's just a lack of knowledge, I guess, a lack of understanding,
I think the biggest thing for me, the biggest tool that I possess today that I'm going to take into a healthy relationship is I understand that everything about the way I used to approach my relationships in the past, for the most part, 98% of how I approached my relationships in the past, I understand that was unhealthy.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Going into a relationship today, one of the biggest tools I possess is, okay, hold on. Why am I feeling like this? Why am I thinking this? I question myself the same way I do with every other approach that I take in life today, because I understand that my life has been dysfunctional and messed up.
And what's your go-to emotion when you feel like you've done something wrong or something,
It's guilt,
But also anger. You don't get angry.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, and right off the bat, that's why they're like, oh well, this dude's a dick. Jesse's a dick, because he just told this girl this.
Right.
I feel like if I make a comment and I'm looking at it like I'm doing I'm being healthy about it, and then I'm like rejected, or I'm like there's something that I'm not sure about. Guess what? Then I become Dave the Dick.
Yeah, and they say the 3 R's, the biggest relapse triggers when you get out of prison after serving a long time are responsibility, rejection, and relationships. And all those three all actually run together. You take a relationship, you're dealing with rejection and you're dealing with responsibility. So a relationship is one of the biggest ones there. So yeah, no, absolutely. So as far as so with that in mind, Dave, I want to ask you another question.
Yep.
So what kind of qualities do you look for in a partner? I say did because you're already in a marriage, so I know you're not looking.
What I looked for, what I saw in my wife, when I knew that she was the one, is okay. For one, is she doesn't put up with my bullshit. but she doesn't do it in a way that makes me feel like something's wrong with me. She's basically, I don't want to walk all over my spouse. Yes, I do need certain dynamics.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Certain submission.
Yeah, but she also gets that from me.
Right.
You know, but there is the dynamic. Yes, I am a man. I'm a man, and she is my woman, but she is not my slave. I don't own her. She is her own independent person. I love that my wife is independent. I love that she's driven. I love she's focused. I love she's intelligent. Those are the things that stood out to me. Like, hey, she's not putting up with my shit. She's an equal part of a dynamic, of our dynamic, and that's okay. So I'll call back James because I don't want this to cut off.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Yep.
All right. So right now, when they call back, they'll go ahead and continue. Definitely, shedding insight on relationships. From their point of view. Obviously, we could only get their partner's point of view if they were to come on and share that. But relationships are definitely a two-way street, and I by no means claim to be a relationship specialist, because I have my own issues.
This call
with feelings and her own desires, her own dreams, her own aspirations, and her own view of what a marriage should be. And that's what I've realized is that there has to be give or take in my relationship. It's not my way or the highway. It's our way as a unit. What works for us in our relationship. And they say we're not perfect. Yeah, we have disagreements about things. But I've never felt like we couldn't come to a consensus or an understanding. I never felt like, okay, well, if I give in on this aspect, I'm losing, because let's face it here, we're bosses, we're winners. This is, so that's a part of our personality. It's a part of our character. That's why we were able to move so fast in that other direction. It's just there's aspects of our character that led us down that path, but it's insane that that I blended with this other person the way that I did. And I'm telling you, the moment that me and her got together, man, it was like fireworks. All those years ago, I still feel the same way when I'm around her. That's what I look for in my partner. If you don't feel that in your significant other, then there's an issue there.
Absolutely.
And that's what I've come. And I only learned it when it happened to me.
Yeah, you don't know till you're struck with the love bug.
And it doesn't go though. It doesn't go away.
Right.
Doesn't. It's like wanting to please this person always, but not wanting to It's being vulnerable. Like it's a vulnerable feeling, and it's crazy because I've built this entire mask around this alter ego that had no vulnerability.
There was no compromise.
This is what it was, and I was willing to kill or die for it. Period. For this opinion.
And it goes to, like you said, with that character, those characters that we had developed in the previous lifestyle, and it goes back to what I was telling you about what my boys were saying, like the same things that are.
Hey guys, it went dark. We can't hear you guys. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening with these tablets, but ever since this update came in,
James.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I can hear you guys now.
James.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Hello.
James.
Yeah.
For sure.
I can hear you guys.
Well, I'm gonna.
All right. So they're gonna go ahead and call back and reconnect, and they'll go ahead and continue with their conversation. Man, and I don't think I think this is the first time I've ever seen so many comments on the chat. Really appreciate it. You guys participating. And right now, when they call back at ICEMAN, I'll go ahead and ask him if Jesse is if he's a grandfather yet. And I'm gonna go through these messages right now. And for those of you that are watching right now or listening, that are live, we do have a phone number where you guys could call in if you guys want to make any comments or ask any questions, and it's located on the bottom of the stream, where the purple and the yellow text is scrolling on the bottom of the screen. There is a local number, and there's also an international number if you have WhatsApp or are using an iPhone. You could call in via FaceTime audio. No video needed. All we need is would be a voice. I'm guessing they're probably having some issues, some technical difficulties on their side from with the tablets. I know earlier on a few calls ago David had mentioned that they had to reboot.
This call is now being recorded.
Link. You have a prepaid call from
David. Open this.
An inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello, all right.
Hey, did you hold down the fort? Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to.
I heard when you said that you couldn't hear us no more, and we tried to do what we were doing, like with the headphones. The last few times it wasn't doing it, so you know what?
So it cut off again. We're not able to hear you guys again. So it's happening. It's happening again. So I'm not sure. I'm guessing it's the GTL side, just because. Who else is there to blame? I got good internet. I got good broadband. Okay, we can hear you now.
Hello, James.
Yeah. Hello. All right. Yeah. They can.
Can you try yours real quick?
Yeah.
Oh, James.
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
You got us?
Yeah.
James.
Can you hear me now?
That motherfucker sounds all crazy. James.
Yeah. I'm here.
Hey,
I'm here.
This thing sounds crazy.
Oh yeah, I figured. It's a GTL. If you guys want, we could go ahead and wrap it up. Because if I sound like a robot on your end, then it's not gonna work
You're not
out.
even connecting on it, huh?
Yeah, look at it, won't even.
Yeah. She's gonna kick me out right now, huh?
Hello. Hello. Yeah, you're right about that. LIFERS GTL sucks. They're definitely being they definitely need to step up their game, or they're gonna hopefully get replaced. Because obviously whatever changes they make to their system, it's obviously not an upgrade. It's a downgrade. Maybe they bumped on their internet plan so they could save on bandwidth and save a few dollars. but it's definitely at a cost because we're the ones that are suffering with these pretty awful calls. They work till they don't work, and we got situations like that where the audio will go in and go out. I'm probably gonna ask David if he could maybe possibly use Jesse's tablet instead of using his. Maybe that'll fix the issue, or maybe it's just the whole network right there at Centinela that's not working. But who knows? The possibilities are definitely endless. Did any of you guys check out that the new stream that I did last night with Jojo from he came out of from Long Beach. We ran like about an hour interview yesterday. I'm gonna check if he's available or to come back sometime this week so we could go ahead and continue down his journey. We left off at him in county jail, I believe, is where we left off. Definitely went through a lot in his early years or his younger years, and definitely didn't get any easier as he got older. Ended up catching a 40-year term for some robberies, and I think he's about 13 years into his 40-year sentence, and I think the biggest enhancement out of that was the gun enhancement. I think if I remember correctly, he said that the robberies carried a 10-year sentence, but once they stacked on all those enhancements, it ended up being a 40-year sentence. Could be, a nice man writes, could be their headphones. I don't think it's their headphones. I'm pretty sure it's the GTL, because I know with some of the other participants that do come on, sometimes the audio will go blank. So I'm pretty sure it's on GTL's side that they're having some issues. If they're not able to connect in the next few minutes or so, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night, because I need to go run out and do some errands anyways. I gotta go run out to Lowe's and to Home Depot and return some building materials that we bought that we no longer need. So, but we do need to pick up some other things. So, okay, here we go.
This call is now being recorded.
Link. You have a prepaid call from
David Lopez,
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hey, James.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. This tablet's messing up pretty bad. It's the whole system though, because it kicked Jesse out of his too right now.
Oh, okay.
David spent all our damn money on his family visit bungalow, so now we don't have no money for Wi-Fi.
Yep. Hey,
I'm hating.
Hey, but what we were thinking, I don't know if there's any questions from the viewers or anything right now, but since the tablet was messing up like this, we don't want to leave the viewers hanging. So I don't know if you're available tomorrow, James, but we can pick up this conversation if you want tomorrow.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I am. I'm gonna be off pretty much all week, and yeah, we can definitely jump on. What is your schedule looking like for tomorrow?
I was thinking like 4.
We could do it at 4. How are you at 4 o'clock tomorrow?
I think
tomorrow's a holiday, so there's no work or anything.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, my wife is off. Yeah, so we can definitely jump on about 4, if anything changes, I'll go ahead and let you guys know. But yeah, no, definitely.
We have a lot to talk. We have a lot to cover on this topic.
Yeah, we spent the first hour pretty much, just hanging out a little bit, so we didn't really get a chance to get much into the. We made a list of questions that we kind of wanted to go on, get out there, and we kind of figured that.
One thing I know about these tablets is when ever since they switched the app over to the ViaPath app from GTL, that it's been acting up like this. It's been like around this time, like my wife will tell me that I sound like a robot, and yeah, it's all bad. So it's gonna probably continue for a little while. And yeah, we got yard anyway. I'm actually gonna go right from this to yard right now at 6:30, and I'm supposed to be facilitating CGA tonight until 8 o'clock on the yard.
Okay. Yeah, so that'll work out then. Yeah, we could go ahead and definitely pick up tomorrow, and hopefully the system's not
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Acting up like it is today.
Yeah, well, we could stay on. We could stay on momentarily if you want, just until they call the yard.
Yeah. They probably won't call it till about 6:30, 6:45, anyways.
Yeah.
But if for some reason it ends up hanging up or cutting out again, rather than just keep sitting here in suspense trying to figure out the network or whatever.
Yeah, you could just let everybody know. Everybody heard it. They will not be calling back.
Well, you know what? Actually, there's a few errands that I gotta go run. I gotta go return some stuff back to Home Depot and Lowe's. So I think it'll
You're not
probably...
going to return the vacuum cleaner, are you?
Nah.
You vacuumed with it and you're going to go return it?
Nah.
The vacuum 7 years later, now you're going to try to return it? That's some Picasso stuff.
A man after my own heart. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm some building material that we ended up buying a little bit of excess. So I wanted to return that, and we got to buy some other stuff. So I wanted to get in there before they close.
No, that's cool, man. Now, we had a good time, man, spending time with you and all of our cellies.
all of our cellies. We appreciate everybody being here. Hopefully, you guys can find time tomorrow. Same bat channel, same bat time.
Yep.
Hopefully to sit down with us and finish this relationship topic. We've been putting this relationship topic on hold for David's family visit because we felt like that was a good, catalyst for this topic. A good little springboard. And like I said, we put together some questions. The last question we had asked, I asked David was what kind of qualities does he look for in a partner? And I think he answered that pretty eloquently, pretty graciously. I thought it sounded great.
Yeah, and for those, yeah, thank you. And for those individuals out there that have loved ones that are incarcerated, this is what your loved ones are going through. We're a representation of what they're going through. So if you don't know how to help them, that's the hardest part, because traditional therapy and counseling sessions don't really delve into the issues that we're facing here. You get out there in society, and it's like, okay, well, how do you talk about healthy boundaries? How do you talk about what you're going through, vulnerability? How do you talk about sex? But as far as coming from a person that hasn't had any of those things in over 2 decades,
right?
How is a therapist gonna address that? They're gonna give you some generic answers, but it's like, okay, well, how do you know?
Yeah, you don't know me.
You don't. Yeah,
you don't know the demons that I struggle with.
Exactly. How are you gonna talk about real demons? How many killers have you had in this chair?
Yeah. And that's like Dave said, that's why I believe this topic is important, because in the process of having this discussion, Dave and I have talked about this a lot. We talk about relationships in here a lot, and because we're springboards for each other, we're and so it's kind of like, okay, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Because, like I said, my perspective, I understand my perspective isn't always right. I understand that I may be seeing things through a warped perspective or through negative emotion or negative past experiences. And likewise with Dave, so sometimes we hold each other accountable with certain aspects of a relationship and life and stuff like that. And so it's important, and what do we, how do we go out there and try to get people out there to understand that, to understand, how the motor, how the hamster wheel is running in our head or in our heart,
Yeah, what you're thinking about, but yeah, so I guess we'll conclude with that for now. I guess this will be part 1.
Yeah, part 1 of the relationships.
Yeah.
I believe that it'll get better because hopefully tomorrow we can just kind of oh, real quick, also too, I wanted to share with everybody that's listening. Anybody wants to know, I got some great news. 2 weeks ago, this is Jesse. Starting the 25th of January, I was approved for the tattoo removal program, and for me that's a big thing because I have a bunch of gang-related tattoos that are visible. Not a bunch, but I have several gang-related tattoos that are visible, and for me it's a big thing. I'm excited about, because there's a chance that I could be out of prison at the end of this year, and so I think it's great that I can actually start getting my tattoos removed. So January 25th, I will start removing the tattoos from my hands, my head, my body, my arms, where I have these gang-related tattoos, so I'm excited about that. I just want to share that with you.
Start with the 49er symbol.
All right, guys. You guys went dark again. We can't hear what you guys are saying, but I'm assuming you guys could go ahead and hear us on that side. I could hear you the microphone.
Can you hear us?
Yeah,
Yep.
I can hear you now. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, but
we were talking about burning the 49er symbol off the bottom of my feet during the tattoo removal.
Yeah. That's
for you, I said.
You are. Yeah.
But I just wanted to share that. I just wanted.
Man, it's awful. This. Hola, mamá. Ven.
Where are you coming?
Ando hablando con Jesse y
Your best friend?
Jesse y David.
David?
Ajá. Ya, pero su teléfono no sirve.
No.
No sirve su teléfono.
No.
No, mamá.
That way you're using Jeffy?
Ajá. Jesse, su teléfono no pagaron el internet este mes. They didn't pay the internet this month.
No.
No.
Oh, you please need to fix it?
They have to fix it. GTO lo tiene que arreglar.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. So, I want to go ahead and, give you guys, I just saw Fish Layer just dropped that $20. So I'll go ahead and add that to the little bank right there. Let me see what that brings them up to. Really appreciate, man. All right. So Jesse and David, they got $100 already, man. I gotta definitely, kind of cash them out. But, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to everybody. If you guys didn't catch it earlier on when I was in the middle of the stream, I should give everybody a shout out, especially all of you guys that participate in the chat. Now I'm going to go ahead and start it off from the top here. So the collect call from a roll call is going to be shout out to ICEMAN, Fish Slayer SoCal, Lifestyles Chronicle, Richard de Colorado, Mad Max 408 and M-Star Media, Marlene, LBCK